For today's video, we are going to be making Sam from Trick or Treat, the movie. He was actually a customer request, and as soon as I seen him, I thought he would be perfect for me to make. I actually just got the request yesterday, and I already haven't finished. That's how excited I was to make him. So I hope you guys are just as excited as I was, and you enjoy this video. And if you do, please subscribe or comment or hit the like button. And we will get started. So we're going to be starting with the head, and I'm using just a light brown. And I'm going to make a loop, wrap around your finger and pull it through, just like if you were going to start chaining. You can use the magic ring method if you'd like. I just prefer to do it this way, and we're going to be putting 6 single crochets into this loop. So to begin, you're going to grab your yarn and pull through and do 1 chain, and all that does is secure your stitches onto your loop. So for round 1, it's going to be 6 single crochets into the loop. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Grab your stitch marker if you're using one, and I just use a piece of yarn. For round 2, we're going to do 6 increases all the way around. So in the first stitch, we're going to put 2 stitches. If I can get in there. So 1 and 2. And then we're going to increase again in the next stitch, 3 and 4. Increase in the next stitch, 5 and 6. Increase in the next stitch, 7 and 8. Increase in the next stitch, 9 and 10. And increase in your last stitch, 11 and 12. Flip your marker if you're using one. For round 3, we're going to do 1 single crochet, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 18. So 1, then you're going to increase, 2 and 3, 4, then your increase, 5 and 6, 7, and then increase, 8 and 9, 10, then increase, 11 and 12, 13, increase, 14 and 15, 16, and then your last increase for 17 and 18. Just wondering if I got my lights in the right spot here. Try this. That might be better. better. Okay, for round 4, you're going to do 2 single crochets and then an increase, and you're going to repeat that all the way around for a total of 24. So 1, oh yeah, that's better, 2, and your increase 3 and 4. 5, 6, and your increase 7 and 8. Nine, 10, and your increase 11 and 12. 13, 14, and your increase 15 and 16. 17, 18, and your increase for 19 and 20. 21, 22, and your last increase 23 and 24. For round 5, we're going to do 3 single crochets and an increase for a total of 30. And this is always the easy row for me because I like counting by 5s. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, and your increase 4 and 5. 6, 7, 8, and your increase 9 and 10. 11, 12, 13, and your increase 14 and 15. 16, 17, 18, and an increase for 19 and 20. 21, 22, 23, and your increase 24 and 25. 26, 27, 28, and your increase for 29 and 30. For row 6, you're going to do 4 single crochets and an increase. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 36. 1, 2, 3, 4, and increase for 5 and 6. 7, 8, 9, 10, and an increase 11 and 12. 13, 14, 15, 16, and an increase for 17 and 18. 19, 20, 21, 22, an increase 24 and 25. 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30 is your increase. 31, 32, 33, 34, and I did something wrong, 35 and 36. You're going to do 5 single crochets and an increase for a total of 42. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and our increase 6 and 7. So we're counting by sevens now. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and our increase 13 and 14. 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21 for the increase. I don't know why, but my yarn is not pulling through nicely today. Okay. 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, and an increase for 27 and 28. 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, an increase 34 and 35. 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, and in our last stitch 41 and 42. Okay, for the next round we're just going to do single crochets all the way around. So for rows 8 to row 14, we're going to do 42 single crochets all the way around, and it ends up being 7 rows. So I'll do the first row with you, and then you guys can continue on, and I'll come back and meet you on row 15. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, and 42. Okay, so you're going to do 6 more rows, and then I will meet you back. Okay, we should all be done up to row 14 and ready to start row 15. If you're unsure, you can just count your rows. So that the circle is row 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. For row 15, you're going to do 5 single crochets and a decrease. And you're going to repeat that all the way around for a total of 36. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a decrease for 6. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 is your decrease. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18 is your decrease. 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24 is your decrease. 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30 is your decrease. This should be our last set. 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, and 36 is your last decrease. For row 16, you're going to do 4 single crochet and 1 decrease. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 30. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 is your decrease. 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 is your decrease. 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15 will be your decrease. 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20 will be your decrease. 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25 will be your decrease. 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30 will be your last decrease. For row 17, you're going to do 3 single crochets, 1 decrease, all the way around for a total of 24. So 1, 2, 3, and 4 is your decrease. 5, 6, 7, and 8 is your decrease. 9, 10, 11, and 12 is your decrease. 13, 14, 15, and 16 is your decrease. 17, 18, 19, and 20 is your decrease. 21, 22, 23, and 24 is your decrease. For round 18, you're going to do 2 single crochets, 1 decrease, all the way around for a total of 18. So 1, 2, and 3 is your decrease. 4, 5, and 6 is your decrease. 7, 8, and 9 is your decrease. 10, 11, and 12 for a decrease. 13, 14, 15 is a decrease. 16, 17, and 18 is your last decrease. For row 19, you're just going to do 18 single crochets all the way around. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. Okay, now we're going to start the collar. To begin, we're just going to do another row of 18, but this time we're going to do it in the front loop only. So we're going to go down under your stitch and come up and through between the 2 V's of the stitch. So you're not going through here, you're coming down and up through there. just between the two V's. Okay, front loop, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, whoops, I didn't grab all that, 16, 17, and 18. And now you see you have all the back loops left, and we'll use them later for attaching the body. Or continuing the body. Okay. So for this second round of the collar, we're going to be doing a cluster stitch. And then we're going to be doing a half double crochet and then a cluster of stitches and then a half double crochet. So for the first cluster, oops, I have a knot here coming. For the first cluster, we're going to start with a slip stitch. And this time we'll go through both stitches again, both sides of the V of the stitch. So we do our slip stitch, and then we're going to chain 2, and that's going to count as our first double crochet. And then we're going to do another double crochet. And then we're going to chain 2. And then we're going to come into this back bump of the first chain you made. And we're just going to slip stitch into there. And this is going to make our little peak. And then we're going to do 2 more double crochets into that same stitch. So 1 and 2. And there we've made our little peak. So the next stitch we're going to do a half double crochet. And then in the next stitch we're going to do another cluster, only instead of chaining 2 like we did in the first stitch, they'll all be double crochets now. So 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets, chain your 2, come in that back bump right here, so not that one, this one, and then you're going to slip stitch and then do 2 more double crochets in that same stitch, 1 and 2. Oops. And then you're going to do a half double crochet in the next stitch, and we're just going to repeat that all the way around. Did I do a half? Anyway, double, double, chain 2, slip stitch in that second back bump, and 2 more double crochets, 1 and 2. And then we're going to do our half double crochet, and then we're going to do our next cluster. Double crochet, double crochet, chain 2, slip stitch in that back bump, and then 2 more double crochets. Then a half double crochet in the next stitch. And we're going to do a next cluster, 2 double crochets, 1 and 2. Then we're going to chain 2, go into that second back bump with our slip stitch, and then 2 more double crochets in that same stitch. Whoops. One and 2. Half double crochet in the next stitch, and then our cluster again, 2 double crochets. Oopsie. So 1 and 2, then our 2 chains, and slip stitch in that back bump, two more double crochets in the same stitch, and then in the next stitch our half double crochet. Okay, our next cluster, 2 double crochets in the same stitch, two chains, slip stitch in that back bump, and 2 double crochets in that same stitch. Half crochet, half double crochet in the next stitch, and then our cluster again in the next stitch. 2 double crochets, chain 2, slip stitch in that second back bump, and 2 more double crochets in the same stitch. One and 2. Then we're going to do our half double crochet in the next stitch, another cluster, 2 double crochets, chain 2, slip stitch in that second back bump, and then 2 double crochets in the same stitch. Okay, and we're going to do our last half double crochet in the next stitch, and we should have, I believe, 9 of these little peaks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And then you're just going to slip stitch down into this stitch right here, or just where you started your chain 2, just under that. And you can tie that off and weave that end in, and then we'll come back and start on the body. for the arm, I started in the color I used for the head, and you just make your loop again. We're going to put 8 single crochets in there, so stretch it out according to size. You should be able to fit them in a loop that fits right around your hook still. Okay, so grab your yarn and pull through and do your chain 1, and that just secures it. And we are going to start by putting 8 single crochets into this loop. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Grab a stitch marker or whatever you're going to use. For rounds 2 and 3, we are just going to do 8 single crochets all the way around. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that was round 2. Round 3, we're going to do another 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And don't finish off that 8th stitch because we're going to do a color change. So grab your, I'm assuming orange. And we're just going to tie that on. Whoop. I like to give mine 2 or 3 ties, but totally up to you. And if you have a different way of making color changes that you prefer, do it that way. This does leave a tiny little step, but it doesn't really bother me too much. Okay, and cut the brown off, or whatever color you use for the head. And we are going to start on row, what row? Row 4. So pull that orange through to finish off your last row. Move your stitch marker over. And we're going to do 1 single crochet and 1 increase all the way around for a total of 12. So 1, I got a mess here, sorry. So an increase for 2 and 3, 4, and an increase for 5 and 6, 7, and an increase for 8 and 9, 10, and your last increase 11 and 12. Now you're going to do rows 5 and 6 are just going to be, excuse me, 12 single crochets all the way around. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and your next row, row 6 will be another 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Row 7 is going to be 1 single crochet, 1 decrease all the way around for a total of 8. So 1, 2, whoops, 2 and 3 for your increase. Oh no, I'm decreasing. Sorry guys. So 1 and a decrease for 2. 3 and 4 is a decrease. 5 and 6 is a decrease. 7 and 8 is a decrease. I've noticed I've been making a few counting mistakes here. I am going to put the actual written instructions up across the top for each row. So whatever's up there, follow what I have up there. For row 8 and 9, we're just going to do 8 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So that was row 8. Row 9 is another 8. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, now we're going to put our stuffing in there. I made the bottom more on the firm side, and then I didn't put any stuffing up the rest after this, so that's why we're stuffing it right now. So we'll get this kind of nice and firm. And one thing about since you're only doing half of it, if you do have this firm and you change your mind and you want it to have been stuffed all the way up and you never and you're already closed it and it's already made, you can kind of work some of this stuffing up higher once it's all closed up. But it'll sit nicer across his body if the rest is not stuffed. Okay. Yeah. I don't know why I reached across myself for that. For rounds 10 to 13, we are going to do 8 single crochets all the way around. 10, 11, 12, so that's 4 rows. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That was row 10, row 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Row 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. I'm going to pull my stitch marker out. Now you're going to fold it in half, and you want to get 4 single crochets across. For some reason you can't get 4 the way you go in. Just do increase to make sure you have 4. So I'm going to go in this stitch and the back stitch, and then make sure you are through both the front and the back. So 1, 2, 'see, I'm not in that second part. Make sure you're in both sides. 3, and I can't get in that last one, so I'm going to put a second one in the stitch I was just in. And tie that off. You can leave a little bit of a string, and you can use that later. When you attach your arms, you can use that to kind of bring the fronts in tighter. Okay, now we're going to begin our body. You're just going to make a loop so we can attach the yarn to the back loops of the head. And our first back loop is going to be right here. So that's our last stitch in the last row, and that would have been our first stitch in the last row of the head. Whoop. So you're going to pull that through, and you're going to just do a chain. chain 1, and then you're going to put a single crochet right back in that same stitch for your first stitch. So I'm going to start again at row 1 of the body. So row 1 will be back loop, 18 single crochets all the way around, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, whoops, I missed a string there, 12 or 13, 13, 14, 15, 16, and this is my last stitch, so I did count wrong, so that'll be my 18th stitch. All right, for round 2 of the body, you're going to do 2 single crochets, 1 increase all the way around, for a total of 24. So now, oops, got my stitch marker. So 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet, and then an increase for 3 and 4. 5, 6, and an increase for 7 and 8. 9, 10, 11 and 12 for your increase. 13, 14, increase for 15 and 16. 17, 18, increase 19 and 20. 21, 22, and your last increase 23 and 24. All right, round 3, you are going to put the arms in. So you're going to do 4 single crochets, then you're going to do 4 single crochets through the arm, then you're going to do 8 single crochets across the front, then you're going to do 4 single crochets for the second arm, and then you're going to do your last 4 single crochets to finish the row. So we'll start with our 4 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And grab your arm. And I want these strings facing the front so we can pull them in through the body later. So make sure when you do both your arms that they're both facing towards the front. where your stitch marker is will be your back, and then this will be your front. So you're going to go through your first single crochet in the arm. Then you're going to go through your next single crochet in the body. So there's your last single crochet. So this is a single crochet you'll be going through right here. And make sure you go through both the V's in the arm and both the V's in the body. And you're going to do that 4 times. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Make sure you're not going in the same stitch or skipping a stitch, or your count will not be right when you get to the end of the row. Now you're going to do 8 single crochets. So this was your last single crochet. So this hole is where you're going to put your next single crochet to start your 8. So 1, whoops, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now grab your next arm or your other. Make sure your strings are facing the front. And you're going to do the exact same thing. You're going to go through the first stitch in the arm and the next stitch in the body. I'm sorry, you're not going to be able to see that very good the way I'm doing it because the string's in my way. But it's just like you just did the other one. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then you should have 4 single crochets left. 1, 2, 3, and 4, which brings you right back to your stitch marker. For rounds 4 and 5, we are just going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. So round 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24. Same thing for row number 5, 24 all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24. For round 6, we are going to do 3 single crochets and an increase for a total of 30. 1, 2, 3, and our increase 4 and 5. 6, 7, 8, and our increase 9, 9 and 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15 for the increase, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20 for the increase, 21, 22, 23, increase for 24 and 25. This should be our last set. 26, 27, 28, and our last stitch, an increase, 29 and 30. For rows 7 to 12, we're going to do 30 single crochets all the way around. It'll be 6 rows. I'll let you do that, and then I will come back and join you on row 13. Okay, you should have your 6 rows of 30 done, and be ready to start row 13. For row 13, oops, I got the wrong string there. We are going to do 3 single crochets and a decrease all the way around for a total of 24. So 1, 2, 3, and a decrease for 4, 5, 6, 7, and a decrease for 8, 9, 10, 11, and a decrease for 12, 13, 14, 15, and a decrease for 16, 17, 18, 19, and a decrease for 20, 21, 22, 23, and a decrease for 24. Okay, before we start the legs, we better put some stuffing in the head and the body. You're going to want to stuff it fairly firm, but not so so much that you start stretching the head. I'm going to do all the sewing after, so if for some reason you feel you need to do the sewing before you close it all up, you'll want to skip to that part of the video and do some of the sewing. Oh, excuse me. Too much talking. I need to have a drink up here. So you can see I'm putting quite a bit of filling in the head. The body I'm not going to stuff quite as full. Just kind of watch your shape as you're stuffing it. You want to keep it round, and you don't want to pull these too much. I'm actually pushing the front stitches out more. I should be pushing in the back. All right. When you're kind of happy with the shape, start stuffing the body. Just gently. Also, if you find that your strings are in the way, you can just wrap them, your arm strings, just around the arms like that. And that should help a little bit. So keep in mind, with the body, when you're stuffing it, the more you stuff it, the harder the legs are going to be to do. You can stop in the middle of the legs and add more stuffing, and I think that's what I'm going to do, because I did overstuff that guy, and he was tricky to get going. So when you start the legs, you're going to want to find halfway. So you want to make sure, close this up and make sure it's lining up with your arms and the front of your body and your head. I'm going to do about there. And you're going to count from halfway, so these two stitches, this is one stitch, that's one stitch, and this is the center of the side. So from this side, you're going to want to count 6 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then you're going to put your needle in the 7th stitch, which is now going to become the first stitch of the other leg. And you're going to count around 12. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Put your hook in there and put your hook in the other side where your needle is holding the first stitch of this second leg. And you're just going to want to take a thread or something and mark that, because we don't want to touch this side until we're done the first side of the leg. And I just tie it kind of to keep a reminder of what stitches not to go into. If you do tie it, make sure that it's easy to undo. So I'm just putting a little bow on that side, and then I'm going to stuff it in there out of my way. And we should have 12 stitches on this side. Remember that this stitch you don't go in, and this stitch you don't go in. So these 2 stitches will be part of the first leg. Okay, sorry that was taking a long time for me to explain this, but okay. So for row 1 of the leg, you're going to do 12 single crochets all the way around. Whoops. So where am I starting? Right there. So 1. Let me see this. 2, 3. Don't worry if you have a different amount of stitches, as long as you have 12 on one side and 12 on the other side. Now this stitch, remember that's the other leg, so we're not going in there. We're going to turn our work, and we're not going in this stitch. That's the other side of our leg. We're going to be going in this stitch right here. So that'll be stitch 4. And try and keep this stitch on the tighter side. You're probably still going to end up with a hole here, but you can fix that later after you're done the second leg. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 should bring you back to your stitch marker. And this, if you're doing it the way I'm doing it, that's what it should look like. That's your next stitch in the next row. So you've done it right. Okay. Now, for rows 5 to 6, you're just going to keep going around 12 single crochets. And I think I will do that off camera as well. So you're going to do 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5 more rows of 12. And then I will come back and we'll do row 7 and stuff this side of the leg. Okay, you should be done up to row 6, and now we're going to start on row 7 of the leg. And we are going to do 1 single crochet and 1 increase for a total of 18 stitches. Oops, my lights are in the way now. 1 and an increase for 2 and 3, 4 and an increase for 5 and 6, 7 and an increase for 9 and 10, or 8 and 9, sorry, 10 and an increase for 11 and 12, 13 and an increase for 14 and 15, 16 and an increase for 17 and 18. For row 8, we are just going to do 18 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Now we're going to add the rest of our stuffing to this side. Don't forget, because we stuffed this lightly, you might have to add a little bit more up into the side in his tummy. And you want his legs to be pretty firm so he'll stand up. And when you get to the end, you want to make sure that the stuffing is fairly flat, even with the side edge of the foot here. Okay, so I don't know, that might be a little too much. I might have to hold that down as I go around. Okay, for row 9, we're going to be going in the back loop. So, in this back loop, so you go down through the V and then out to get just the back loop. We are going to do 1 single crochet and 1 decrease for a total of 12. So 1 and a decrease for 2. Make sure you're not catching your stuffing and bringing it through. 3 and a decrease for 4. I know it's a little tricky, but just take your time. What's that, 4? 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 is a single crochet. 6 is a decrease. You know what? I'm taking that out. That's too much anyway. Seven. 8 is a decrease. 9. 10 is a decrease. 11, and then 12 should be your last decrease. Now just before you do your last row, double check that you're happy with where your stuffing is and your legs. Okay. And for our last row, we're just going to do 6 decreases. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and our last one is 6. And then you can just slip stitch into the next stitch, and we will tie that off and close it up. We don't need too much of a tail. And I want to make sure that's flat. So just start going through the loops on your around your last row here. I'm going through the front loops right now. I don't know the difference if you go through both or one, but being that it's the bottom, I'm not super concerned about looks. And then you're just going to want to find a spot where you can pull this back down in. And I think it's going to be right there. And you're just going to tie a knot. And then pull that down to the center and then up through the back of the body somewhere. I like to try and get it in the middle. I don't know if it makes a difference. Then give it a tug to get rid of that knot that you just made. Okay. For the second leg, you're going to do pretty much the exact same thing, only you're going to start with a new piece of yarn. And when you make your loop, you're going to leave a tail of about, I don't know, 12 inches or so. Just so you have a little bit to sew the hole that's going to be left between the legs. So right here, you're going to have a little bit of hole to sew up. And I'm going to start fairly close to there just because I don't want to pull my leg over too much when I do sew it on. So you're going to just grab your loop here, pull it through, leave the string out so you can access it easily. Chain 1 and then do a single crochet into that same stitch. And that'll be your first stitch of the leg. And we're just going to go around and do 12 single crochets for row 1. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And And now we're getting where we marked our stitches previously. So we're going to go into this stitch right here where we counted out our 12 stitches. So that's going to be 11, and it could be a different number for you when you go in. Just make sure you have 12 stitches all the way around. And turn it around and find that other stitch where you have your stitch marker. And for me, that is my 12th stitch. I apologize for the awkwardness. Doing this around, reaching around a camera is not really the easiest to do. Okay, so now I had a stitch marker. I thought, what did I do with it? Got it? Okay, so that was round 1. Put your stitch marker in. And now you're going to do rows 2 to 6, 12 single crochets all the way around. And I actually think I'm going to leave you to finish the leg. So if you want to, on your own, so if you want to pause the video right here, I'll put the instructions that'll be exactly the same as this leg up on the screen. And then we'll go to the next part once you're done that second leg. Okay, so you should have both feet done, or legs done. And if you're where I'm at right now, you've got your 2 leg threads up here, and you've got your little thread here to sew up the hole in the middle. So you're going to tie these up if you haven't already. I usually do about 3. And then we're going to thread them out through the other side and cut them off. I'm going to take my leg stitch markers out. We'll sew up this middle here. You just need to go in and out a couple of times. So go through the back, through the front. Okay, you see that? Yeah. And just do that a couple times till you got that tight. If you got a bit of a hole in your stitches, you can try going up, but just don't pull them too tight that you make more holes. Is the back or the front? This is the front. I'll go one more time here. I do want to make sure I tie it in the back. Whoops. And just knot it once or twice. And slide it in your stitches and back up out the body somewhere up here. Again, it's in the back. I lost it. Darn it. Guess I should have left a little more string. There we go. Give it a tug so you can kind of hide that knot. And then we'll deal with these little strings we left for the arms. So what I like to do, the reason I leave these and don't put them in here, is I put them back down right where my last stitch was in the arm in the front. I pull them out the back, and then when you tie them, you can kind of cinch the arms in a bit. So instead of them being like a little floppy here, tie them and they're a little tighter on against the body. Let's do that with the second arm. And we'll put that down inside. Sometimes you want to make sure that they're on the same row. Since when you crochet in the round, it's kind of a little bit slanted. And then we'll just tie that a couple of times. And watch how I don't think I pulled that one in. You don't want to pull them too tight, but you don't want to have them loose either, or it was pointless to do it this way. And you'll just thread them out through somewhere else on the body. And we're about to start, I don't know if we want to call it the fun part because it gives your guy character, or I don't want to say the part we hate, but I don't know too many people that love sewing the face together. So there, we're almost finished. Okay, we're going to start with this little piece going down his face. And what I'm going to do is make a chain to begin with. Everyone's chain is going to be a little different. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to count the stitches around his head. I'm going to make that many chains, and that's going to be like my start. Maybe I need to add a couple extra, or maybe I have too many. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37. So we're going to chain 20 or 37 for me. Our numbers should be fairly similar, unless we started counting on the wrong row. So let's chain 37-ish. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. I'm at 30 and I just want to check. I feel like that's getting long enough here. So we're just going to find the center, about the center. Go up through the round part, center up top, and then down. Yeah, see, I'm pretty close. So I'm going to try 3 more stitches. So was that 30, 31, 32, 33. I'll do 2 more. Just remember, we are going to lose 1 stitch when we come back. And it stretches a little bit. Oh, now I feel like I have too many. Okay, well, we'll see how that works. So now, in the second chain from your hook, I kind of made a mess of that, but that would have been the first one, but I pulled it funny. So the second chain, you're just going to slip stitch all the way back down till you get to the end. And don't worry if it's messy or neat, because for this project, almost the messier the better, I think. If you've ever seen the way a burlap bag is sewn at the seams, it's not a neat job. While I'm doing this part, I know I hate this part, but it's YouTube. If you are enjoying my videos, make sure you hit the subscribe button. You can give me a like, you can send me a comment on what you thought of the video. I also will have a link in the description to my Facebook craft page. If you want to share your work with me there, I have pinned to the top of that page a little YouTube icon, and I think I have share on it or something. I'd love for you to post your work on that little feed. You just go into the comments, and I think you hit the little camera or something. Okay. So I thought the wrong side looked better. So that's what I consider the right side. And then the wrong side I thought had kind of a nicer hump to it. Okay, that looks about right. So we're just going to tie that off. Oops. And I grab my other end tail and try and pull it through at the same time, if it'll come. It's a little, I made it a little short, I guess. Oops, that probably should have been cut. And then just give it a pull. This will end up on the inside anyways, so it won't matter. Okay. So I'm going to take the nicer end and put it in the front, wherever I've decided center was. And you're going to want to get your pins. And just start pinning it straight up his center of his head. So what I did was I marked the center first, or the top center. Oops, I don't really want that there. So the front, the top center, and then the back in the center. And then I just put pins in all the way up, just so when I sew it, it doesn't move around much. Put as many as you want in, because it will move around a bit. So I should go this way. If you don't have enough pins, as you get sewing, you can move them around. Once you secure this side, you can move your pins back if you need to. Okay. I guess you're laying down for now. When you go to sew this on, you're going to want to have, I don't know, maybe a little more than an arm's length of your matching color. Hopefully that's enough, should be. And for right now, we're going to come in from the side and we're going to move that over later. But for right now, you're going to come up to the side. I'm going to take my first pin out. And maybe, oh, it's that way. I thought it was straight up. I'm just going to pin it a little bit above. And you're going to come and you're going to grab right at where it's narrowest in the neck. You're going to come under where you want your bump to be. And you're going to come up through that very first chain on the one side. Or it could be the slip stitch, but the very first bar there. And you're going to pull your thread through, leaving just a little bit of a tail to move and tie later on. And this will be a little loose, so you might want to put your pin back in after you move it. So then you're going to go in the next stitch. And I'm probably doing this the hard way, just because I don't want to move my bump too much. But I go under the one round. If you can get it up through this next stitch without twisting and bending your seam there, go ahead and do that. But I have to do double the work here and go up through it after I go through the round. Pretty much you want to go through every stitch on the one side. So there, we go down through that stitch. Come up through that round. Again, if you can get in there, go for it. But I'm going to go through it after. And you're just going to go all the way to the other side, exactly like that, all the way up here. Secure it a few times down here. And then you're going to come up the other side exactly the same way. And then I will come back when that part is done. Okay, you should be about here, unless you've already got ahead of me and tied this off. If you are not sure what to do with this thread here, you're just going to get it back on your needle, go back to the same hole you put it in, and you're going to come out the hole where you just finished sewing this on and have this thread left. And then you're just going to tie it here and put it back through the other side. And I'm going to put them all underneath the collar. Make sure you pull that nice and tight. Whoop. And then you're also going to want to get rid of these ends and put them down and through. Whoops, sorry, you can't see. I can't decide if I need that up or down. Now you're just going to, I guess I should have thread that after. Just going to pull that out the back somewhere. Okay, for these little crisscrossy things, you're gonna get, I'm using a lighter brown, kind of, I guess, a tan or a beige. You're gonna want about 2 arms lengths of thread. It's probably gonna be more than you need, but better to have a little extra than to run out. We're gonna go all the way up on one side and all the way back on the other side. And same thing, we're just gonna come in the side here and we'll tie that later. So you can make little X's or lines or V shapes, whatever you're feeling. Let's see, what else could you do? I don't know. So sometimes go across, sometimes go up. It's gonna look more how you want it on your way back than on your way over. Basically, you just want, and make sure you're getting underneath this part, not just this part. And that'll kind of bunch it up a bit too, to make it more like a seam. Don't forget, you're going to be making more lines on the way back down, so if they seem a little thin, that's okay. Okay, just because this is so long already, I'm going to stop here and I will come back when I go over and then back to here. Alright, once you get your stitches how you want them, you're going to kind of pin the mouth on. I might actually put some eyeballs on first too. I don't know which way to put them. I think I put this guy's on too low, and then I had a hard time getting the mouth on, so it didn't look funny. So this time I'm going to put them up quite a bit higher. Make sure they're evenish. Kind of wherever you want them is where you're going to put them. They don't have to be certain row or a certain, I'm just on this one, I'm just a little bit above the middle. The middle is probably about here. And I'm just going to sew the mouth on now and then see where the eyes look best. So I'm going to start the mouth here. So I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I think I'm gonna go over these 2 stitches. So I'm gonna come in here and come out in that 7th hole from the center where I put the pin. And then just over 2 stitches, just kind of, I don't know, zigzag or V's, just like you did the seam that you just made. Oh, it didn't really zigzag, did it? I don't know how I'm going to get this similar on the other side, but or something like that, I guess. I should keep going, but I'm gonna go back to the 7th stitch just so I don't get too far out. Hopefully I can kind of make it similar looking. I think I got too much, but just make sure you stay like 2 rows apart. Then at least, oops, see, I'm already doing it wrong. How come I can't get an X now? The other one I just went diagonal lines from the back and forth. Oops. Okay. So you're just going to keep going like that, and then when you get done, get these 2 ends tied together and pulled back through. Alright, so I've decided to put it in 4 stitches across. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'm just going to start right there. I don't have a needle threader, so I just made one with thread. Or a single strand of, I took the 4 strand and made it a single strand. Button sewing. So we're just going to sew them on. You want to make a little crisscross. And secure them a little bit better than I'm doing here. I'll just keep going in that same stitch that I started in. And then you'll give them a tie and pull them out through the back. And then I think we just have the patches left. Alright, so now we're going to do the little patches. And we're just going to make our loop. And we're going to be chaining, so we want that to be on the smaller side. And we're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then in the second chain from the hook, we're going to go across for row 1. We're going to do 3 single crochets. And then we're going to turn. We're not going to chain 1, and we're going to go straight into the next stitch to go across, and we're going to do 3 again for round 2. And we're going to turn. Same thing for round 3. We're going to just do 3 single crochets across. And then tie that off. Leave enough to sew it on. And then for the small one, it's going to be exactly the same, only we're going to do 2 rows instead of 3. So make your loop. You're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And in the second chain from hook, you're going to do 3 single crochets across. Turn, and 3 more single crochets. And then tie off, leaving enough to sew your little patch on. And then we just need a little piece. I used the lighter yarn to make the bow. And I definitely cut too much, but that's okay. Just make a regular bow, the length you want it. Oh, this one's twisting. I wonder if I can get that out of there. And then you're just going to cut that wherever you feel like you want it to end. And all you have left is to pin this guy and sew it on. So I put the bigger patch at the top. And then I put the littler rectangular patch on the bottom. So I'm kind of leaving this a mess, but I think you guys will be able to sew this on yourselves. If you liked my video, don't forget to subscribe. Let me know in the comments. Hit the like button. And hopefully I will see you again in another one of my videos. Oh, and don't forget to check my channel. If you go through the playlist, you might see something there that you would like to make as well. Thanks for watching, and happy crocheting.